Well, switching over to some consumer news now, sign-ups for the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, are nearing a new record. The Biden administration announced today, that nearly 24 million people have signed up so far. That's almost double from when President-elect Donald Trump was last in office. There are more than 3 million new consumers and more than 20 million returning ones. The administration says growth in Obamacare enrollment was fueled by more generous federal subsidies, heightened outreach, and an easier enrollment process. Beefed up subsidies have allowed 4 out of 5 consumers to find plans for $10 or less per month. The enrollment boosts help drive down the uninsured rate to record lows during Biden's term.